Citizens speak out. People continue giving voice to demands that their governments grant greater freedom, dignity, and respect to all residents as they gather in countries such as Bahrain, Burkina Faso, Iran, Libya, the Maldives, Morocco, Pakistan, Syria, Turkey, and Yemen.
2 days after a Bahraini military court sentenced 4 protesters to death on charges of killing 2 police officers in a hastily completed trial, U.S. President Barack Obama phoned Bahraini King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa on Saturday, April 30, and highlighted his belief that Bahrain's future security is dependent on respect for the universal rights of all citizens, as he called for meaningful reform that would address the aspirations of all Bahrainis. On Sunday, thousands of Pakistani protesters in Karachi marched in support of Bahraini brethren who have been under siege from security forces attempting to halt the protests. The activists in Pakistan also called for their government to halt the recruitment of mercenaries for the Bahraini army, demanding the government denounce the ill treatment of Bahrainis and end ties with the government. Iranians and Turks similarly joined in solidarity marches on Sunday, with Turkish citizens arriving at the Saudi embassy where they called for the withdrawal of Saudi troops and an end to the repression of the protesters in Bahrain.
Hundreds of thousands of workers globally took to the streets on May Day, Sunday, May 1st, to demand better wages, working conditions, and job opportunities. In Morocco, the government and unions reached a pay raise agreement. However, trade union representatives and others in Burkina Faso cancelled a May Day protest out of concern for violence that has erupted in other recent gatherings held to demand President Blaise Compaoré's departure.
Many people were also injured in the Maldives on Sunday after police used tear gas and batons to forcefully disperse protesters demanding the resignation of President Mohamed Nasheed over high food prices and unemployment.
In Syria, despite claims by authorities that their efforts over the past 2 days have quelled the restive municipality of Daraa into submission, activists in that city and across the country pledged to continue their rallies, calling for reform and regime change. Also on Sunday, security forces arrested prominent human rights lawyer Abdallah Khalil from his home in Raqqa for criticizing the government's violent response to protesters.
In Libya on Sunday, the U.S., British, French, Italian, and Qatari embassies, along with the UN mission in Tripoli, were attacked by what embassy officials reported appeared to be organized crowds. The attacks came after Libyan state television reported that Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's son, Saif al-Arab, and 3 of the leader's grandchildren were killed in a North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO airstrike. The United Nations responded by removing its personnel to Tunisia, and the British government asked its Libyan ambassador to leave the country. Government forces meanwhile increased their shelling of the Misrata port in an attempt to block the strategic city from its main source of humanitarian aid. In addition, along with bombarding the town of Zintan with Grad rockets, the Libyan forces also intensified their attempts to take control of a border post leading into Tunisia near Neilout, another key supply line for the revolutionaries.
With sympathies for the loss of precious lives, we are heartened by hopeful signs of peace emerging from conflicted regions as we pray for an end to turmoil in all nations and that citizens everywhere choose to live side by side in shared harmony, dignity, and freedom.